Welcome back to Movie Synopsis.
Today I'm going to tell you about a love story between a Wehrmacht officer and a Jewish maid. The movie is called The Exception.
Take your clothes off.
The film begins with shots of a girl lying on the ground. Waking up in a cold sweat, Captain Stefan Brandt casts a glance at the woman packing. When Stefan asks if they will see each other again, the woman refuses. Moments later, the phone rings, and a voice asks Stefan to come in. Captain Brandt learns that he is going to Holland to command the personal guard of the former German Emperor, Kaiser Wilhelm II, who fled 20 years ago due to defeat in World War I. German troops had just entered the Netherlands this morning, allowing the captain unhindered access to the former German Emperor's suburb of Doorn. Entering the mansion, Brandt hands the Kaiser's adjutant an order for his appointment as commander of Wilhelm's personal guard. The adjutant warns that there should be no molestation of the servants on the grounds of the mansion. Wilhelm's wife, who is currently chopping wood, asks the Kaiser to invite Captain Brandt to dinner in order to make a good impression on him. Since soldiers have been sent here to protect him, it means that the Kaiser needs his country, and every little thing is important now. Meeting with Inspector Dietrich, Brandt learns that his job is to record everything the Kaiser says, especially if Wilhelm says anything disrespectful to the Reich. Also, according to Dietrich, British intelligence may have infiltrated his spy into the Kaiser's entourage, as they found a radio transmitter in a nearby village. It is possible that Wilhelm is either to be kidnapped or killed, but Brandt thinks this idea is foolish, since the Kaiser had retired more than 20 years earlier. Dietrich reminds the captain that if anything happens to Wilhelm, the inspector will personally shoot Brandt. Meanwhile, in the suburbs, a maid enters the Kaiser's office. Asking questions, Wilhelm learns that Mika is new and comes from Holland, which is currently being overrun by Nazi German troops. When asked if she would capture Holland if she were in command of the German army, the girl answers yes without hesitation, for Holland is so beautiful. In the evening, Mika knocks on Captain Brandt's location. The girl relays the Kaiser's words of an invitation to dinner the next day. Looking at Mika, Brandt orders her to undress. Approaching the girl, the captain wants to possess Mika, but, clutching his stomach, says that he accepts the Kaiser's invitation to dinner. On entering Wilhelm's mansion, Brandt meets the adjutant, who briefly instructs the captain on how to behave in the company of the former emperor and his wife. Returning to his room after dinner, Brandt finds Mika in his room. The girl orders the captain to undress, after which, finding a huge scar on his body, she pushes Brandt onto the bed. In the morning, the adjutant informs Wilhelm that Brandt says there is a British spy in the Kaiser's entourage, causing the captain to ask permission to move to the mansion, closer to Wilhelm. Throwing bread to the ducks by the pond, the Kaiser notices Brandt. Wilhelm invites Stefan to dinner again, after which he asks Mika to escort the captain to his new room in the mansion. After telling him her name, Mika asks him not to call her by that name, as she could lose her job if it were known that the maid was sleeping with a Wehrmacht officer, and Stefan himself could also be in trouble. In the morning, the captain meets Inspector Dietrich, who says they have detected another transmission of a spy. There is only one car with a direction finder, but when the second one arrives, they will be able to pinpoint the exact location of the source of the signals. Looking at Mika, the inspector says dreamily that he would love to interrogate her. Stefan suggests that instead of running after the maids, he should look for the second car with the direction finder. Mika meets a man who makes it clear that the girl is a British spy passing information to his handler. The pastor reassures Mika, explaining that if any suspicion had fallen on her, she would have been arrested long ago, but asks her to be careful. Mika, back at the mansion, hears the servant's call. Hiding her gun, she leaves the room and meets Stefan. Brandt asks her to tell him if the inspector is bothering her and he will deal with the Gestapo officer. In the Kaiser's office, Wilhelm tells him that he did not want to start a war that he had been defeated in. According to him, he sent a telegram, which people in his entourage interested in the war intercepted. Wilhelm, when the guests have dispersed, asks Mika about her family. The Kaiser promises to help if the girl or her family needs anything. Mika wants to say something, but Princess Hermine enters, causing Mika to immediately leave. Back in her room, the girl finds Stefan in bed. The captain apologizes for their first meeting, but Mika confesses that she wanted him to at that moment.
I'm Jewish.
I'm not. I don't care.
One day you might have to.
In the morning, after leaving Mickey's room, Stefan pulls out a pack of cigarettes taken from Mickey's locker. The packet has traces of gun oil on it. Meeting the inspector at the pond, the captain learns of Himmler's arrival tomorrow. It is Stefan's duty to deliver Himmler after dinner with the Kaiser to the safe house, and to provide a list of all the servants in the house, which they will begin to search in an hour. Meeting Wilhelm, Stefan does not even have time to say that this is secret information before the Kaiser's wife rushes into the office with the same message. Leaving the office and meeting with the adjutant, Stefan asks him to tell Wilhelm not to joke about the Reich in the presence of Himmler and Inspector Dietrich. When asked if there are any weapons in the house and who cleans them, Stefan learns that the maids have no access to weapons. The captain informs the arriving inspector that the entire house is already aware of Himmler's arrival, since someone has sent a telegram to the Kaiser's wife. Having searched the whole house and found nothing, the inspector and his men leave the suburbs, while Stefan notices Mika running into the village. After meeting her handler, Mika informs him of Himmler's arrival tomorrow, whom she may kill. The girl wishes to avenge the deaths of her father and husband. However, the curator is against it, because if she does, Mika's main task will be failed. Their meeting through the window is watched by Stefan, who has followed the girl. Thanks to a second car, the inspector manages to pick up a radio signal sent by Mickey's handler, whom the soldiers arrest. In the morning, Stefan wakes up again from the nightmare the captain keeps having. Asked by Mickey what the dream is about, Stefan tells of a village in Poland where SS soldiers shot all the women and children. One of the girls was still alive when Brandt wanted to help her, but she died in his arms. For this, Stefan beat the officer who had given the monstrous order. According to the girl, most SS officers are such monsters, but Stefan does not want to believe this. About to leave, Mika receives a marriage proposal from Stefan. Because of their argument, the couple is discovered. One of the maids asks the Kaiser to return to the house, where Wilhelm's wife informs him of the affair between Captain Brandt and their maid, which is forbidden. Hermine dismisses Mika, but the Kaiser asks to speak to the two in private. Wilhelm admits that he himself has sinned with children out of wedlock, so he leaves Mika to continue working, but warns him to be more circumspect in the future. Leaving the Kaiser's office, Stefan receives a message from Inspector Dietrich. Having arrived, Brandt learns that the inspector has caught a spy transmitting radio signals in which Stefan recognizes the man with whom Mika met yesterday. Instantly figuring things out, Stefan goes to the Kaiser's suburb, but does not say anything to Mika. After Himmler's meeting, Stefan takes the girl to a back room where he tells her that her pastor, her handler, was arrested yesterday and is being interrogated, and that sooner or later he will tell her everything. Stefan promises to keep everything a secret if the girl leaves the Kaiser's mansion immediately, but Mika is against it as she wants to do her duty. Returning to his room, Stefan finds the inspector informing him that the pastor will soon confess. Himmler appears in the room. The Reichsfuhrer SS reports that Hitler has forgiven the Kaiser and allowed him to return to Germany after 20 years of exile. However, this is just a ruse to expose the monarchists and their associates. Stefan and the inspector would have to intercept all correspondence and report personally to Himmler on the addresses sent or delivered. During dinner, Himmler tells them that in all captured territories they will get rid of unnecessary people, such as the elderly, the handicapped, and children. Once they conducted an experiment, they injected 10 infants, causing them to die in their sleep. 10 people in 1 minute is very inefficient, according to Himmler. Knowing the adjutant's loyalty, after dinner Stefan asks him to tell the Kaiser about the trap set by Himmler.
Thank you.
Going up to Mika's room, Brandt does not find the girl. Mika, meanwhile, meets with Kaiser, who has come to the woods to split firewood after dinner. According to the girl, she must leave for good, but she has a message from Winston Churchill. Realizing that the girl is the spy, William has a heart attack. Calling for help, the girl rushes to the mansion, where Stefan wonders if the Kaiser is dead. At that moment, a phone call rings with the message that the pastor has cracked and revealed everything about Mika. Stefan asks him to trust him, as the girl won't have time to get away. Having called the guards, Brandt orders all entrances and exits to be blocked. Princess Hermine, meanwhile, finds the Kaiser, who is perfectly fine. Wilhelm tells his wife that he has received an invitation from Churchill to hide in England and then become Emperor of Germany again when it is defeated. However, the Kaiser declined the offer, as he declined Hitler's offer to return to Berlin after hearing Himmler's speech. A minibus arrives, into which Stefan and an adjutant load the Kaiser. Under the pretext that Wilhelm needs to go to the hospital, Stefan leaves Princess Hermine and the adjutant and leaves himself, picking up Mika on the way. Gestapo vehicles are already at the gate, cracking up the pastor. Stefan informs them that he has the Kaiser in his bus, who is in urgent need of hospitalization because of a heart attack, but Inspector Dietrich decides to inspect the bus. One of the Gestapo men opens the back door, which Stefan shoots and then kills the inspector himself. Leaving the grounds of the mansion, Mika thanks the Kaiser for saving her life. Wilhelm is glad they were able to say goodbye, after which the old man passes out. After stopping the bus and throwing the gun away, Stefan asks if the girl has a place to hide. Mika calls him along, but Brandt decides to stay. He is in no danger, for he has taken the Kaiser to the hospital, and the spy has shot the officers at the gate, so he should be above suspicion. Running off into the woods, Stefan shouts to the girl if she will marry him, to which Mika asks him to find her after the war. After getting on the bus, Stefan takes the waking Kaiser to the hospital. Sometime later, Stefan receives a package, and upon unpacking it, Brandt sees the book that Mika has been reading. On the title page is a message with an address where the girl will be waiting for him. Meanwhile, in London, Mika sits by the lake. She is informed that the Prime Minister is ready to meet her, and when the girl rises, it is noticeable that she is pregnant. At the same time in Berlin, the air raid alarm sounds and the engines of the planes roar. This is where the film ends. Thank you for watching and see you again.